Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Episode 69 in-studio episodes of the Last Round Podcast. I'm Danny Z with my co-host right across from me, Michael, the franchise shepherd. How's it going, Mike?
Busy last week of coming off a Valentine's Day massacre at the Honda Center.
The Valentine's Day massacre. Is that what you want to call it?
That's what I'm calling it.
All right.
A lot of stoppages.
A lot of stuff. Okay, in that regard, yeah. In that regard. I thought you were talking about the main event. I was like, okay, maybe I could see that. First round. But once again, guys, thank you for listening this week. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever you're listening on. There's even apps I forget that we're on. I don't even know. But Radio Republic or something like that? I don't know. But this is a big fight week. As of right now, would you say the biggest fight of the year so far coming up in terms of maybe attention?
Yeah, definitely.
So far?
Yeah, I would say so.
So, obviously, we're talking about Wilder Fury this upcoming weekend in Las Vegas. Joint pay-per-view on ESPN and Fox. And who we got this week as a guest calling in to talk about that fight and, of course, other stuff in boxing is one of the most notable coaches in the game. He's based here in Southern California, like a lot of the other coaches. He's trained a lot of world champions. He has two recently new world champions that he just got in Miami within the last few weeks from the Coachella Valley out here in Southern California. Coach Joel Diaz joins us this week. How's it going, Coach?
Hey, everybody. Have a good night. I'm here. I'm just, happy to be here with you guys, inviting me to the show, and I'm here to talk boxing.
Awesome.
That's what we do, and we're here to talk boxing.
You got it. Right on the nail. And you just mentioned that you just left the gym, right? So you were out there training. How long were you at the gym today?
Well, today I made a little change. I had one of my girls had a performance. Right now here in the Coachella Valley, we have a big festival. It's called the Day Festival. Right. The National Day Festival. And one of my girls had a performance. She had a dance performance, and I had to change my times. I'm usually at the gym at 11, but today my daughter had a performance at 12 and then one at 1, so I had to move everything to 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So I finished like around 6:30. So I was there most of the day.
Okay, but you're always at the gym pretty much throughout the week, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm always at the gym. I start my day at 11, and I'm usually there till about 5:30, 6 o'clock every day.
Got it. So, Coach, just jumping into it, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Wilder Fury, the rematch this weekend is obviously the hot topic at the moment. 6'9" Tyson Fury against 6'7" Deontay Wilder for the WBC heavyweight title of the world, and for Fury's lineal heavyweight championship that some people recognize, some people don't. So essentially, Coach, let's just start off. What do you think of this rematch?
My thoughts on this fight after the first one, it's gonna be a competitive fight. It's gonna be a great fight, just like the first one. The first one was very, very entertaining fight. They both put up a great performance. But on the second fight, on the rematch like this, my thoughts will be now that Fury is getting older. He's the older fighter. He has great movement. He has great boxing ability. He can hit and move. But I think that after the first one, mentally, he's gonna try to avoid the right hand from Wilder, and Wilder's gonna land it sooner or later. And I think that's gonna be the key to the fight. The right hand, Wilder's going to land the right hand because Fury knows that he has a devastating punch. But I just think that at this point, the fight, I don't think the fight is going to go the distance on this time. The first fight, it went the distance because, he went down, he got up, he kept moving around. But I think on the second one, on the rematch, I think Wilder will knock him out before the 8th round.
So you think Wilder will take this one by knockout?
Yes, in my opinion, I think Wilder will finish that fight before 8 rounds. The early rounds, Fury's going to come in and box, move, try to avoid the right hand. But, he's going to start fading after the 4th round. I mean, I think his age is going to start catching up around 4th, 5th round. And he's going to stand in there and try to exchange with Wilder. And he's going to get caught with the right hand.
They've been saying, and then I think Fury's camp, and then I think Fury has said in a couple interviews that he's been working more on like knocking guys out. Like he said he wants to knock out Wilder. Some of it could obviously be just for the publicity and the promo, but do you think he's serious about that? Like, do you think he's really going to try to go in there and try to at least knock him down, get a knockdown?
Well, every fighter trains to win. If Fury is training to go for the knockout, it even makes it more interesting because he's going to get knocked out earlier. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that. Because I think Wilder can withstand a punch, but his punching power is devastating. I mean, if you go in there looking for trouble, you're going to find trouble. And I think that if Fury is training to knock out Wilder, which means he's looking for trouble, he's going to run into trouble.
Coach, how do you think the change of trainer from Ben Davison to Sugar Hill will affect him? Have you ever taken somebody on, and how many camps do you think it takes to actually see those subtle changes? I
have fighters that they come to me and they switch trainers due to some reasons. It takes me about 2 fights to get them where I want them to be. In the first fight with a new trainer, it's hard. It's very difficult to adapt. Because in the first camp it's really hard. You still bring some of your old habits. You cannot change a lot of things, in a first fight with a new trainer. I think in this case, instead of being something positive, it's going to be something negative.
And how do you feel that mind games play effect with boxers being a coach? Can you see when somebody's got under the skin of your fighter?
It's happened before. A lot of fighters get under opponent's skin, and they frustrate them mentally. There's fighters that win the fights psychologically before they even step in the ring, and some fighters are really good at it. I'm telling you, and I've seen it before. If there's fighters that are strong-minded fighters, they don't care. They'll take it like, okay, it's what I do. But there's fighters that will be affected by the frustration of another opponent getting in your head.
So obviously in the first one, Fury, at least to a lot of pundits and a lot of different people, felt that he still should have got the win, even though Wilder did knock him down twice and everything. Do you agree with that notion that Fury maybe should have still got the decision win in the first fight, or were you okay with that draw?
To me, it was a good decision, honestly. I mean, there was some moments where he was landing good shots, moving around, but I think the best shots of the fight were landed by Wilder, and I just think that it was the right decision. It was the right decision. They gave it the right decision, but I think on the next one it will not go the decision.
So
I didn't think Fury won the fight, the first one, nor Wilder. I think it was a perfect decision.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of people, everybody sees it different. Everybody sees a different angle of the fight. It depends on how you look at it. There's fighters that will land a lot more punches, but they're not as effective. And there's fighters that land the least punches, but they're more effective. They're more noticeable. And I think that's what happened in that fight.
You as a trainer, obviously, you've trained a lot of different fighters, a lot of world champions, former world champions, and still training a lot of fighters to this day, obviously. So you've been all over the world for fights. How much does home field advantage count for the fighter? Because I mean, essentially, Tyson Fury is coming over from the UK to fight in Las Vegas. The fight city of the United States, of the world, essentially. And he's obviously voiced some concerns about having it go to a decision because he is from the UK and he's not an American, and Wilder's an American. Do you think that's a legitimate concern for him and for fighters in general?
It is. It is. A lot of fighters mentally, it helps them a lot. There's fighters that will travel overseas and knowing it's not their home. They already got in their mind that a lot of things can go wrong because they're not their home.
Right.
Obviously, it's a hometown advantage in different ways. Coming to America, there's a lot of things. Coming to Vegas, there's a lot of things that are more in favor of Wilder because he's in the U.S. This is his home. This is his town, and it will affect a fighter like Fury, knowing that anything can go wrong because Wilder is here. The judges will obviously will be more on the Wilder side because he's from the U.S. There's a lot of things, and it does affect the fighter.
Do you agree that this is, at least up until this point, obviously it's still early in the year, especially for boxing, do you agree that this is the biggest fight at the moment so far?
Well, up to now, yes. But we're still early in the year. There's a lot more fights coming up. I know that there's going to be great matchups along the way. Before the end of 2020, we're going to see some great fights. I know that the matchups are going to get better. Obviously, we're in February, and this fight, it's in the second month of the year. It is by far the biggest of the year so far, but I know that there's going to be bigger fights down the road.
And Coach, you being in the business and in the sport, you've seen a lot of things from negotiations to obviously being with the fighter, contracts, and all that stuff. How important is it for boxing fans, especially to watch this fight, because it's two fighters from two different promoters, Top Rank, PBC, essentially, and then it's two networks coming together, which that never happens. And obviously, the money has to be right. How important is the business aspect of the entire sport, especially coming from a coach like you, that you've been in the game for so long?
It is very important. It is very important because in the past few years, we've had the issue. Us trainers sometimes train fighters from different promoters, and it doesn't give us what we want to see. We want to see great matchups. We want to see great fights. And sometimes due to promoters, they don't make it happen. That's why it's very important that this fight for the fans is a great fight. For the business is a great fight because these two promoters finally got together and said, okay, let's make this fight happen. It's hard sometimes to see fights like this happen due to, things that are going between promoters. So it is a great fight. It's a great matchup for the fans. Two heavyweights, I think it's by far the two best heavyweights of the era right now.
Touching on what you said right now, how you've obviously have, and you probably still do have fighters from different promoters and stuff. So you as a trainer, you work with different promoters, but your fighters are signed to different promoters exclusively. Have you ever been approached by a promoter or like a promoter's team to have you as a mediator, like with another promoter, like, hey coach, I know you train so and so over here, so you have a relationship with promoter A. We're trying to make a fight with this guy who's under their promotion. We know you, could you help us out in terms of talking to them because you do have a relationship with that promoter? Like, have you ever been approached by like that?
I've never had that situation, but I've seen it. But I've seen it because there's fights that cannot be made due to conflict, among promoters. Mm-hmm. And we want to see them, PBC fighters, with Top Rank fighters, with Golden Boy fighters, lately things been happening. They've been like breaking the ice a little bit, and they've been making them happen. But in the past few years, no, everybody had like their own little circle. PBC had their own fighters. They were only fighting in their own circle, and Golden Boy and Top Rank. And to see the best fights in the sport, we have to break that. There has to be no barriers. They have to open up and let the fighters, give the fans what they want to see, and not be so many champions. There should be just one champion in each organization. Simple as that.
Right, absolutely, yeah, and that's a very important sentiment that you're echoing right there, because I've heard that more than once from fans. So, I did want to ask, because a topic right now is obviously, at least in the last couple of days, Canelo's supposed to obviously fights in May and September, and there's about to announce his fight shortly. At least that's what Oscar De La Hoya has been saying and everything. But one topic in the boxing news right now is that fights have been offered to Callum Smith and BJ Saunders for Canelo, but they've turned them down because they felt the money wasn't right. So there's been like a boxing, obviously, opinion on social media and in general saying that, well, they should accept it because it's Canelo. He's the biggest star in the sport. You're going to make the most money. You coming from a coach's standpoint, obviously being with the fighter and seeing that side of the business, what do you think about situations like that where you get approached by like the biggest star in the sport, who obviously is going to give you your likely best payday of your career up until that point at least, but you turn it down because you want to negotiate more? What's your opinion on that in terms of why people are saying that, oh, they should accept like the first offer?
My opinion is this: as a trainer, as a fighter, I see the business side. If they were offered that fight with Canelo and they turn it down, let's look at it this way: if they're asking for more money and they getting a great offer, that offer is already a good offer, because they're not gonna make that money with nobody else in that division but Canelo. Everybody wants to fight Canelo because they're gonna get a paycheck. And if you get an offer, whatever that offer is, it's a good offer, because they're not gonna get that offer with nobody, with no other fighter in that division. As bad as it sounds, that's just the way it is. Canelo is the cash cow of the moment. So if you fight Canelo and you make $5 million, you get offered $5 million. You're not gonna make $5 million with nobody else in that division. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it.
Coach, I just want to turn it back to January the 30th, where you went 2 for 2, where you had Joseph Diaz picked up the IBF super featherweight, and then NJ also beat Daniel Roman for the unified WBA and IBF. How much of an amazing day was that for you?
We put in the work. When we started camp, I believed in my ability to pull through those 2 fights, because I had 2 good fighters in my possession, and we put on a great plan of attack, and we executed it that night. When you got great athletes, hard-working athletes, and they follow your orders and they listen to your command, you should not have a doubt that you're going to walk away with victories. That night, walking into the arena, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to walk away with a unified champion, which was Akhma and Jojo Diaz, because we put in some great work in the gym. We kept bringing sparring partners. There was sparring partners that would come in and they would last only 2 days with Jojo Diaz. Wow. And then we had to send them back. No, we got to get another one. And then as soon as he broke them, I would tell the manager, hey, this kid is no longer, he's no good. He's no longer good for us. We need to get somebody else. And then all of a sudden we get stuck. And they're like, this is what we got. We can't find no more sparring partners. I said, no, I need sparring partners that can keep Jojo Diaz on his toes, because he's already too relaxed in the ring with these sparring partners, because he knows that these kids are not a threat for him. I need sparring partners that keep Jojo on his feet. And yeah, we kept bringing young, fast-handed fighters that would move and stuff, and Jojo was just breaking them to the body. Our plan of attack with Tevin Farmer was, don't go for the head. As soon as the bell rings from the beginning, just hit the body. Just neutralize everything he has by attacking the body. And that's what we did. That's the reason why he was there. We timed him. We caught him with overhand lefts, which were doing a lot of damage to him. And after that, he had to stand in front of Jojo, and that's what he did. You stand in front of Jojo and exchange with him, you're going to get hurt.
This is you've obviously been with Jojo Diaz now a couple fights, and we know they've said that they obviously wanted you in camp with them initially because your experience and obviously to help him further his career and his development. When he first came to you or his team came to you or you first had a conversation with him, what was one thing that you told him and said, like, look, like I've seen this when you fight, when I've watched your fights, but I kind of want to tweak this because I feel that if you tweak this part of your game, then you'll be a lot better than you are. What is there? Can you talk about that first conversation that you had with him?
Definitely. When he came to train with me, and I saw him train along his father, the first thing I noticed is that he was in a comfort zone because his father was training him. He would run his own training at times where he wanted to do what he wanted to do. I mean, sometimes the dad would tell him to do one thing and he would do another. And in other words, the relationship between father and son started years ago, and along the road, Jojo outgrew that, and he was in a comfort zone where he sometimes was not listening to his father. And the first conversation I had with him, I said, this is how it's going to go. The way it's going to go like this. I'm the boss here. You do what I tell you. If not, you walk away because I'm the one in charge of the training. I'm the one that's going to put the plan together. And sometimes he will be sparring and his dad will be telling him what to do. And he'll be like, yeah, Dad, I got it. Like, hey, be quiet. Just listen and do his job. He was so comfortable to the point where he will be sparring. His dad was giving him instructions, and he will be talking back to his dad. He's like, yeah, Dad, I got it. Okay, I got it. Like, and then I'll come in and say, hey, just keep your mouth shut and listen to what he's saying and do it. Don't be talking back. Okay. That's the reason why I told him. Coming into this fight with Tevin Farmer, I told him, Jojo, this is the way it goes. You had 2 opportunities for a world title, okay? This is your 3rd. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If you let go of this opportunity, some fighters only get 1 opportunity in their lifetime. This is your 3rd. If you let go of this opportunity, you're going to become an opponent for somebody else. What I'm trying to tell you is this. Your career is over. After this 3rd opportunity, either we take advantage of it or you're going to become an opponent for somebody that's coming up. Simple as that. Your career is over. All right. And I said, you better listen, because if you don't listen to me in the corner, I will choke you in that corner. And everything was great. We handled it perfectly. In the 2nd round, when he got cut, I told Lira, I told him, Ben, don't let him know he's cut. Just work on it. He comes to the corner, and he asked, hey, am I cut? I said, no, you got a little scratch. Okay. Kept it as was. He never thought he was cut. It was just swelling. But, we kept him focused. He was not distracted by the cut. Everything was great. I mean, we kept a good composure in the corner, and he became the IBF champion of the world.
Obviously talking about that fight, the DAZN commentators and then some people, obviously boxing Twitter, boxing social media in general, were talking about that, Tevin Farmer didn't look right. There was something off with him. His defense wasn't there. They were, what do you think about that opinion? Because some people were kind of like, I guess, downplaying JoJo's win, even though my personal opinion, I don't think there was anything really wrong with Farmer. I just think that JoJo had his number. From you right there being in the corner, obviously live and being there in between rounds and everything, did you see anything wrong with Farmer, or do you think obviously that JoJo just had his number?
The only thing I saw wrong with Tarver that night was that he couldn't do what he wanted to do. JoJo neutralized his plan of attack, and that's the way it is. Styles make fights. Just because Tevin Farmer was looking good with other fighters, that didn't mean that he was going to look good against Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is a different style. Jojo is an aggressive fighter. He's a smart fighter. He has good timing. He has good attack to the body. Styles make fights. And that night, Tevin Farmer was not going to look as good as he did on the previous fight, because this was Jojo Diaz. I know a lot of people think there's something wrong with Tevin. Well, yes, the only thing wrong with Tevin Farmer that night was that Jojo was attacking to the body like nobody's ever had before. I know Tevin Farmer. when I was working for ESPN, HBO Latino as a commentator, I did 2 of his fights. I know Tevin Farmer really well. On the personal side, in the fighter meetings, I knew his strengths, his weaknesses, and coming into this fight, I put everything together.
Coach, what was the game plan for MJ? Because in my opinion, that was the fight of the night with his fight against Daniel Roman.
The plan of attack with MJ was to make Danny Roman miss. Danny Roman is not a forward fighter. He's not a boxer. He's a medium distance fighter. He's not fast. He's consistent. He's a workhorse. He's a very, very tough kid, but he's not a fast fighter. He's not a pressure fighter. He's just medium distance. But all we needed to do was just make him miss and counter him. Make him miss and counter him. Actually, we worked on that fight. We worked on that camp for MJ to actually stop Danny Roman. He could have knocked him out, but Roman executed his plan and changed a couple of things on us to the point where he caught Ahmadalia with a good body shot and neutralized Ahmadalia. That's why he was moving around the ring, trying to catch some distance. But it was basically just a smart plan of attack. Just make him miss and counter him. Don't let him land some good shots. Ahmadalia will land some clean shots at times, unload on him, and move. Just don't stay in front of him. Give him angles, move around the ring.
Coach, was there any trouble or any difficulty in making that fight with Roman beforehand? Because there was obviously some reports that Roman's team had advised Danny Roman not to take the fight with MJ because MJ does have a lot of amateur pedigree and he's a talented guy, so they kind of felt he was dangerous. Before the fight was actually made, did you think it was going to happen? Did MJ think it was going to happen?
The first time that we started training for the fight, I had some doubts. Honestly, I had doubts because Roman's team they were not really, really confident about the fight. And then when they announced that Roman had an injury, I said, man, I figured they were going to do something like that, So I didn't know if that was a legitimate injury or not, but we sat there and we waited because the only thing we had to do was just wait because it was a mandatory. And Roman's team was not happy with that fight, and they didn't want the fight. But I guess they accepted the fight due to the fact that Roman wanted it. Roman himself said, "I want the fight," and that's why they took the fight.
So, I've heard that Roman actually was the one who kind of pushed for it, which obviously credit to him, as a fighter with that mentality. And then obviously it worked out for your fighter as well. Kind of going back to Jojo Diaz, somebody who was just at that weight class at 130 pounds where Jojo Diaz has a title now, who just moved up to 135 is Ryan Garcia, who just fought this past Friday out here in Anaheim, California, on DAZN. He got the first round KO. Essentially, did you catch that quick performance? And what do you think about him? From a talent perspective, with all your experience that you have, what do you think about Ryan Garcia?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I've been with some of the media, some of the reporters. They have approached me to do interviews. I know a lot of people, a lot of fans, don't really see Ryan Garcia as a legitimate fighter. But I'm going to tell you, as my personal opinion as a trainer, he is legit. I've seen Ryan Garcia grow in the sport. A lot of people think, he's fighting nothing but bums, but that's not the thing. Going back to Jojo Diaz and Tevin Farmer, saying, okay, Tevin Farmer wasn't there that night. That wasn't his best performance. It's not that. It's that Jojo is a different breed, a different type of fighter comparing to the other opponents. Ryan Garcia is a very smart kid. He has perfect timing and great speed. what really hurts you in a fight is not the power, it's the punch that lands when you least expect it. Ryan Garcia is one of the most talented kids on the Cobra ball. If you watch his videos when he's hitting that Cobra ball, I mean, not many, maybe 1 out of 10 fighters nowadays can hit that Cobra ball like the way he does it. What does that do? It coordinates your eyes with your hands, and it gives you that perfect timing. And Ryan Garcia times his punches perfectly. But I can tell you this: if you give me 3 fighters like Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, and Lomachenko for Ryan Garcia, I can tell you he'll beat Gervonta Davis. I'm telling you right now. At this point of his career, he'll beat Gervonta Davis. Why? Because Gervonta Davis, he's not a 135 pounder. He should be a 126, 130 pounder max. When he fought Gamboa, he should have knocked out Gamboa in 2-3 rounds. Gamboa is a dead man walking. I have a lot of respect for Gamboa, but at this point of his career, he shouldn't be boxing anymore. I saw him fight in Cancun against a kid from Mexico with 11 fights that dropped him twice. He lost the fight, and he got the win. Okay? Gervonta Davis is a bigger name in the sport of boxing and went the distance. I mean, he stopped him in the last round, but, I mean, now, Gervonta Davis fighting at 135 against Ryan Garcia, he'll get beat. Devin Haney, it's a tougher opponent for Ryan Garcia. I mean, it's a 50-50 fight, I can tell you this. Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia is not ready for that. Lomachenko's too smart, too skillful, and, he will dominate him just with his experience.
So you think Ryan, besides Lomachenko, is ready now in his next fight, you would say, to fight a Gervonta Davis, to fight a Devin Haney, or maybe even a Teofimo Lopez?
No. I mean, Ryan Garcia will beat a Gervonta Davis. But to fight a Devin Haney, not yet. We'll give it maybe another year, maybe the beginning of next year. But right now, he's not ready for Devin Haney or Lomachenko.
What about Teofimo Lopez?
Teofimo Lopez is it's another tough fighter to face right now. Those are the fighters that are on the top list to get those big fights in the near future.
And then, they're saying that they want to match him up with Linares, and Linares was on the undercard and did KO Carlos Morales on Friday, who was an opponent that Ryan Garcia fought in the past. I believe last year he fought him at Fantasy Springs over there, your neck of the woods. And I believe it did go a decision. He did go a decision with Carlos Morales. Do you think Garcia beats Linares if they fight next?
That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight for Ryan Garcia, because Linares keeps coming back strong. Carlos Morales won a distance with Ryan, and Linares executed Morales a couple of days ago, and with fashion, put him out. So right now, Ryan Garcia, he is a good fighter for a little lower level than that type of opposition. I'm talking about in the future. Yes, he would be a very good. It would be a good fight. Him and Devin Haney, him and Lomachenko, him and Teofimo Lopez. But right now, to keep building up Ryan Garcia, they need to keep getting them fighters not at the level, because I think that at this point, Linares can still ruin his night.
And then once all the smoke clears at 135, all the Devin Haney's, Lomachenkos, or even if you want to take away Lomachenko just because he's obviously probably the best one at 135 in general, once all the smoke clears and let's just say they all fight, who in your opinion as a boxing coach would stand above the rest once they 5 years from now or 3 years from now?
In 135, in the 135 division?
Yeah.
Lomachenko will still be at the top.
And who would be right behind him in terms of number 2?
In terms of number 2, I think it will be Teofimo Lopez and then Ryan Garcia.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a great division, at 135 division. But
yeah, if I have to stack them up, I'll go Lomachenko, Teofimo, Ryan, Devin Haney, and then Gervonta Davis.
Man. That's an interesting lineup right there. You know, I'm glad that you're rating Ryan higher than usual, because obviously there's a lot of people who don't rate him as high. And you know, maybe it has something to do with his popularity and you know, maybe his looks or something. But you as a coach, with all the experience that you have, and obviously you're still training world-class fighters, you're saying that he is the real deal.
He is a real deal. But you know what? At the same time, it's like every promotion. Every promotion has a fighter that they have to take care and invest for the future big fights, you know? And this is the way it goes. This is the way you see it. I mean, you got talent. You got a fighter under your promotion that is talented. If you give them low average fighters and they go distances and they go the distance, that means he's not the real deal. I mean, obviously, if you notice, every single fighter out there with a big name like Canelo, at one point Mayweather, at one point Marquez, everybody, when they started their careers, they started with low opposition. How you execute that low opposition is what's going to build you up. For example, I used to train Virgil Ortiz. I trained Virgil Ortiz for his first 9 fights.
Right.
Virgil Ortiz obviously got some decent opponents as well, and he executed them. He put them away. 1 round, 2 rounds. Look where he's at now. He's moving up. Virgil Ortiz is one of the best fighters in the division right now, and because he's executed everybody that has been in front of him, and that's how promoters notice and they rate you. You know, they got to take care of you because that's a big investment in the future. Obviously, Ryan Garcia, he's legit, but he needs to be tested with somebody, for example, a Linares. If he will fight Linares in July and he beats Linares, then he'll step it up a notch because he beat a seasoned, strong fighter in the division, you know?
Right. No, you're right. Yeah, I agree with that too. If he beats Linares, I think he definitely deserves credit from his haters. But Coach, you know, we appreciate it. We know it's getting late here, and you just obviously got back from the gym, and then you said from your daughter's event. So we appreciate you giving us your time here at the last round. Go ahead and plug anything you got upcoming. Your gym. I believe is your gym open to the public? Like if fighters.
Yes, my gym is open to the public. We open Monday to Saturday, and we open at 11 in the morning, and we're there till 7 o'clock every night. On Saturdays we train early from 10 to 3. And anytime, you know, anybody wants to come to the gym and check out the fighters. I have this weekend I have 2 fights. I have Saul Sanchez and Tito Sanchez fighting in Ontario on a Thompson card. And then the following weekend I have Israel Madrimov fighting on the Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas undercard in Dallas. And then the following week, March 7th, I'll be in Parral, Chihuahua with Oscar Duarte, another kid that I would love to put against Ryan Garcia that is really, really strong. And I think that Oscar Duarte would really test Ryan Garcia because Oscar, wherever he hits you, he hurts you. His defense is really good, and I think he's a young fighter that would give Ryan Garcia a run for his money.
Yeah, I didn't even think about. I forgot you did train Oscar Duarte, so that's an interesting one. So I'm definitely going to keep that in the back of my mind. But Coach, we want to thank you for jumping on this week. And you know, obviously, we're looking forward to this weekend's Wilder Fury fight. And then, you know, best of luck to you and all your stable of fighters over there at the Coachella Valley.
Thank you, guys. And anything you guys need, just let me know. I'm always more than happy, you know, to help you guys. And thank you for, you know, inviting me to the show. You know, what I do on a daily basis is boxing. So talking boxing is what we do. And feel free to let me know anytime you guys need anything. I'll be more than happy to.
Awesome. We appreciate that. Thank you very much, Coach. You take care.
Have a good night. Bye.
Well, what'd you think about that, Mike?
It was good to get a coach's opinion. You know, obviously they look at fighters differently, so getting his opinion on Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis was definitely interesting. You know, Ryan Garcia is obviously from that neck of the woods, being from Victorville, so I'm sure obviously coach knows him, better than we do.
I do appreciate that he did give props to Ryan Garcia, because I know, like I said, like we know Ryan Garcia gets a lot of flack for stuff. Is it a combination because he's a good looking kid, because he's popular, he's social media popular, or he's he hasn't really fought like a high tier opponent, like but coming from a coach like him, who's trained world champions, Timothy Bradley, he has 2 world champions right now. He's one of the most noticeable names in the sport in terms of a trainer, right? And in terms of with the sport of boxing, him saying that Ryan Garcia is legit, even though he did kind of say, like, he's not ready for Lomachenko, he's probably not ready for Devin Haney, but he's legit. Like, give him some time and he'll beat this guy. I think really gives a stamp of approval, or at least another layer of credit to Ryan Garcia. Whether you agree with him or not, you kind of have to, really take his opinion. Like, oh wow, like if somebody like him recognizes like that, like, and he's seen a bunch of fighters and he still watches a bunch of fighters, I think that was a pretty big statement.
Yeah, I think his popularity is definitely, huge. I get asked more about Ryan Garcia at work and from my friends than I get from somebody who is, in my opinion, a rising star in like someone like Virgil Ortiz,
right.
Alexis Rocha. People at work will always come like, hey guys, what give me some info on Ryan Garcia. He looks really good, and I'm like,
yeah.
Dude, they know about him, but they don't know about
Jorge Linares,
or MJ. The
right.
guys coming through like that.
No, you're right.
So that does show his star appeal.
Right. No, you're right. And I think like I don't know if we mentioned this last week or I mentioned this off air, but the kid is a star. He's becoming more of a star. He's becoming more of a star. He's getting noticed. And whether as a fan, whether you like it or not, like, it's good for the sport to have stars because it gets more eyeballs to our sport. It pumps in more money to the sport. It gives more attention to the sport. Like, obviously, we want people to watch our stuff, and then like media outlets like us, shows like us, podcasts, whatever, radio, internet, whatever. It might bring more listeners to us. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. I kind of want to turn it back a little bit. How big do you think the Wilder Tyson Fury event is? Because obviously I knew the podcast was going to be coming up and we were going to be talking about the preview of this. So I didn't bring it up at work, and I wanted to see how many people came up to me because they know I do a podcast and they'll come to talk to me about MMA and boxing. I've had more conversations about the upcoming, Khabib fight and Yoel Romero fight against Adesanya than I've had people come up to me and talk about Fury Wilder.
You know what? Not a lot of people have. I've been in the same boat. Not a lot of people have asked me about Wilder Fury or whatever. But they are. I have seen commercials on ESPN, Fox, and stuff like that. Fox Sports. They are promoting it on there. They, on ESPN especially, they have like at the bottom ticker, they have like the little thing, like the little poster and stuff. And I have seen commercials, so they are pushing it, especially this week. But
Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl, yeah, there was a commercial there, but like but you also got to think about in terms of the Super Bowl commercial, like it's good and like it reaches a ton of people, but like because there's so many commercials, there's so many memorable commercials, and obviously a lot more people are there for the game. Like, are people going to forget about it? Like, did they forget about? I mean, there's like a lot of commercials that were on that day that I thought were cool at the moment, but I forgot what I saw. I don't know what I saw again, like, But as a boxing fan, of course, I'm going to remember the Wilder Fury commercial. But if you're not a boxing fan and you're a casual fan, are you going to remember that?
And you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, this fight's coming up.
It's not free.
Yeah, it's going to be on Fox, but it's also going to be free. So you're like, you know what? I'll watch it. You have to go out there and actually purchase it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you're a football fan in the US doesn't mean you're a boxing fan.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, but there was a lot of eyeballs. It was like 100 million people. So, it's smart marketing. But it wasn't like they were 100 million boxing fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if it was 100 million boxing fans, like, holy crap, or if it was like a Mayweather commercial, like Mayweather Pacquiao rematch or Mayweather McGregor or something like that, that would get attention because those guys' names surpass boxing. They're mainstream. I honestly wouldn't say that Wilder and Fury are mainstream.
They're trying to be.
They're getting there. They're getting there, and it's helping their stock, but they're not. Like I mentioned going back, if it was a Mayweather commercial saying, I'm coming back to fight, then people were like, oh, wow, Mayweather? Like, I think people would remember that. But Wilder, Fury, like, they are heavyweights, they're big guys and stuff like that. And, hopefully it got some eyeballs and people are going to actually buy the fight. But you're right, though. Like, I feel like the hype isn't there.
Are we going to get 4.6 million pay-per-views?
Well, no, of course not. But I don't know. I don't even think it's going to do 1 million. I
think double. Last time was
I think it does 700.
Last time approximately 325,000. I think I'd be happy if I was them with like 600, 700,000.
I know, but like, and it, just kind of ballparking it, like because there's two conglomerates in ESPN, Disney, and Fox. ESPN is Disney, obviously, coming together for this. They're obviously investing a lot of money. They're cutting the pie in terms of the financial side. How many pay-per-view buys do they have to sell in order to make a profit or at least break even?
With the purses.
Yeah. Like I think if they don't get 1 million, at least to the fans, to boxing fans, to casual fans, people are gonna be like, oh, that's a failure. You know what I mean? Like
we don't often see 1 million now though. Even
you don't.
Pacquiao.
When's the last million? I think the last million you had was
it'd be the either Mayweather Pacquiao or Pacquiao and McGregor if you
take away that. Take away Pacquiao McGregor or not Mayweather McGregor. Take that one away. That was 2017, right?
It'd be Mayweather Pacquiao.
No. Take that one away. I'm talking. I think the last legitimate million was it Canelo Chavez?
Yeah.
Canelo Chavez.
Yeah, that'd be the last
right?
one. Yeah.
That would be the last one.
It's rare now. Even Pacquiao only gets like 300,000.
And I'm talking about like, like fights like in the States, like they're more marketed over here. Like obviously in the UK, like you guys had like the Joshua Ruiz fight had like 1.6 or something like that, right? Like in terms of over there in the UK. But in terms of the last million that didn't involve Mayweather or Pacquiao, McGregor, and those guys, I think it was Canelo Chavez. Mm-hmm. I think that one hit 1 million. Yeah, other than that, you haven't seen 1 million. People are like, are getting so excited, like, oh, well, the fight did 300,000. Well, that's a success. Like, I mean, is it?
Because it's a considerable drop from the Mayweather days.
Yeah, because I've had people like casual fans or like they're kind of boxing fans ask me like, hey, I saw like this pay-per-view did like 300,000 buys. Like that's a little bit, isn't it? Like Mayweather was doing like 1.5 and stuff like that. The casual fan, that's how they look at it. There's a bar set right there. I mean, maybe they made a profit off of the 300,000 buys. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to hit 1 million. I really don't. I think it's going to hit 700.
And in today's market, that's good.
Yeah, but then that also hurts us as fans in terms of getting these big fights made because they're just like, man, if you had Fox and ESPN come together and they couldn't even crack 1 million or more, like, what does that tell us?
But as you touched on, I don't think that they've tried to make them mainstream. They've tried to make them crossover stars, and Fury.
They haven't been on any late night shows over here in the States. Mayweather and Pacquiao, every time they fight, and McGregor, they're always on these late night shows. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fat, like they're always on these late night shows. I haven't seen a Wilder, I haven't seen a Fury on these late night shows. I thought they were going to put them on there.
No, I haven't really seen Wilder in many places, to be honest with you. Fury, because he's had that time off because his fight was obviously earlier in the year. He's been on WWE. He's been on
that's helped.
Some TV shows. He was at the college football. He's been on Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. He's had his book. He's had his
Wilder was on Joe Rogan too.
He released his, number one selling Christmas album with Robbie Williams.
Right.
He's done.
But you also got to look
as much as he can.
No, you're right. I think WWE has probably been his best platform to publicize himself and his fight. But you also got to look at it like he came out with like a song or his album and his book and stuff like that. But his fan base is UK people.
He's a little bit over here, I would say.
He's a little bit over here, but a majority of his fan base is from your motherland.
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah.
I
would say he's more popular over here than Wilder is.
I can, yeah, maybe. I might agree with that.
Because of his story, you know, a lot of people like that. You know, being on the verge of committing suicide, having
I don't know. You know what?
mental health issues.
You know what? No, I disagree with that. I think Wilder beats him in the popularity contest over here. Not by much. I think it's not like 50 to like 1,000, but I disagree with you, Mike. You lost on this one. In your face. Yeah, you shut up.
I don't think so.
You shut up, Mike.
He sells out more.
Maybe.
More seats.
Maybe.
Wilder doesn't even sell out Alabama.
That's messed up. You know, obviously, we talked to Coach Joel Diaz about it. He's picking Wilder to win by knockout. Who are you picking, Mike?
I'm going to pick.
What is that?
Fury's on fire.
God. Is he coming out to that?
Fury's on fire.
Is he coming out to that? This better come out good to the speakers for our listeners, because then they're not gonna listen to us, and they're gonna we better not get copyright for this stuff. Thanks a lot, Mike. You just killed our show. We're gonna get a cease and desist letter from whoever that company is.
I think Fury.
Label.
I think Fury will win. I think it'll be, you know, obviously everyone's either going Wilder KO, Fury 12 rounds. I think Fury over 12 rounds. I think he is just mentally, obviously, doing the usual, saying he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. I think it'll be similar performance to last time. Stick and move. Obviously, Wilder's not exactly very good at hitting a moving target.
Right.
So I think he'll do it. I think him saying that he's not going to get the decision in Vegas is kind of like another shot at the judges.
Mm-hmm.
So the judges are kind of wary of like, oh, well, you know, Tyson said he's not going to get, the decision. So those kind of close rounds, they might go with Fury. They may go the other way because he's already raised attention.
Right. No, you're right. I can see that. So you said you're picking Fury?
I think Fury by decision.
I think, okay, I'm going to do a spin on this. I think Wilder knocks him out, but Fury knocks down Wilder at least once. But Wilder's able to recover enough and knocks him out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, I do believe Fury is really working on more power shots. I think he really wants to make a statement. Like, I think he's going to box, but I think he really does want to show, like, because I mean, towards the later rounds, especially after he got knocked down, like in the first fight, he did come back and he did kind of stun Wilder, you know, if you remember that, and he did kind of put Wilder on his back foot, like, oh wow. So people say Fury doesn't have power and stuff. Like, I think he does have power just because he's such a big guy. He's bigger than all the other heavyweights. Like, his natural size, he does have power, but he chooses not to really exert it too much. He's more of like the stick and move. I think Wilder goes down once, but he recovers and he knocks out Fury.
I actually watched the fight again before the podcast today. Now you can see, you know, obviously if you're getting punched in the face by a 280, 290 pound guy, you know, it's going to hurt. But I think the problem is, you know, Tyson quite often will punch on the move. He doesn't sit there, set his feet like Wilder does, because Wilder, when he throws that right hand, he puts every ounce of his body behind it. So are you trying to say that him going for the knockout is going to be to his detriment?
Fury? Mm-hmm. Maybe. I think that's what Coach Joel Diaz said.
Yeah,
that's what he said too. I don't think it's going to be necessary to like a complete detriment, but I think Diaz said it too, that if he does try to exchange with Wilder, I think he loses that exchange.
I think most people would agree with that. I think him saying that he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds, most people were kind of surprised. You know, I think we'll see pretty much we're going to go into a round 13. I think it'll be the same type of story. I think the fact that he's just added a little bit more size, you know, a little bit more muscle, so he can probably, you know, maybe ride some of those punches because he's got a little bit more weight behind it.
Right.
Because even his dad said on the BT Sport kind of preview show when he was arguing with David Hay, he was saying, I didn't want Tyson to fight him. He's like, you could put a finger on his stomach and it would go into his body because he had no muscle mass.
Right.
He was like a wet paper bag or something he compared him to, you know, because he obviously got on that huge,
right,
you know, 140-pound weight drop.
No, you're right.
It was too fast.
You're right, yeah. I mean, so you're going Fury, I'm going Wilder.
And do we see the winner face Joshua?
No, they're going to fight a third time. There's third time in the contract. Joshua's not going to get a fight with them this year. He's not. I believe that. Let's quickly touch on our opinions for the Ryan Garcia fight. He gets the KO in the first round over Francisco Fonseca. Knocks him out really quick. You've made your opinion known about King Ryan Garcia, King Ryan on here. What do you think, Mike?
Surprising performance when you compare it to, obviously, Tevin Farmer and Gervonta Davis. They obviously took, longer rounds to beat someone.
Yeah, but as a fighter
like
as Fonseca, when you fight all these killers or all these good fighters and stuff, like, eventually it's going to take your toll on you. It's like miles on a car. Like, if you fight Davis first and this guy, and you fight somebody later, like a Ryan Garcia, like, you're not the same fighter that you were when you fought before.
No, that's true. Obviously people say once you've been knocked out once, you kind of get knocked out easier again because the body goes into like a safety mode, so the lights goes out a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
I think it was obviously another perfectly picked opponent for Ryan to, showcase his talents. And
I mean, he did what he had to do.
Exactly. Like, unlike some of the fighters, for example, like Andrade, who gets these handpicked opponents and you kind of like, okay, make a statement, knock these guys out, make the crowd go, ooh, these picture moments that people are going to see on Instagram, on Twitter.
But the difference with Andrade is that, like, no other middleweight wants to. The big middleweights, the ones with the money, don't want to fight him.
It's funny. Everyone wants to fight Ryan. Everyone wants to fight.
Everyone wants to fight Ryan because there'll be a tension and a payday on there, and or they just want to shut him up. But nobody wants to fight Andrade, but it's not for the same reasons. So, you know what I mean?
It was funny because afterwards, he was there with his WBC silver. Devin Haney was there with his WBC belt. I was hoping that Jake Paul was going to bring in his little WBC belt, have all of them in there.
But real quickly, I think Linares beats Ryan.
If they do that in July, and if Ryan manages to beat Linares, even though it's an older, kind of, washed up Linares, I will start to give him some respect, which he deserves.
I think he absolutely deserves it. But I think Linares beats him. But once again, guys, thank you for listening to episode 69 of the Last Round podcast. We'd like to give our thanks once again to Coach Joel Diaz of the Coachella Valley out here in Southern California. Thanks to him for jumping on and helping us preview the Wilder Fury rematch and talk about his world champions and his stable, and then obviously his take on certain aspects of the business. Mike, tell the fans where they can follow us on socials.
On Twitter and Instagram at The Last Round 12, and be sure to tune in next week. We'll obviously review the big Fury and Wilder match, and then preview Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas, Cal Yafai, Roman Gonzalez, Julio Cesar Martinez against Jay Harris. A beautifully stacked card, Matchroom's biggest card they've ever done, according to Eddie Hearn.
I'm excited. So for my co-host Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.